Okay, this is going to be a really quick video from me. I promised I'd come back to you guys if I finally found a robot vacuum and mop that I actually like, and I have. It's this one, the QRevo Curv. It's not the newer version 2 one, but the original version 1. I have linked it down below, the right one that is, if you want to buy it. But a bit more context. Basically, I've been trying to find a good robot vacuum and mop for quite a while now, and just like all of us, I have this dream of, leaving my house, running one of those, and just coming back to everything being nice and clean. And again, just like all of us, I watched a ton of reviews. Almost every video I watched was overwhelmingly positive, especially about the super expensive ones. When I finally pulled the trigger and bought one, I was pretty disappointed. It just didn't clean the house that well, kind of 70% of what a human cleaner would do. It was super slow, it got stuck all the time, and it even mopped my rugs. I thought perhaps I just bought the wrong one. Maybe I needed to spend even more money to buy one of the expensive, the best ones. So I bought another, and another, and another. And funnily enough, the most expensive ones that YouTubers had just drooled over and even crowned the best robot vacuum and mop, they made my floors dirtier. In fact, when you look on TikTok, there are some pretty disturbing videos of what these things are capable of. To me, it just felt like I was paying top dollar to essentially test these companies' prototype devices. And quite frankly, they're all pretty similar. It just wouldn't surprise me if they're all made out of the same factory and just branded differently. Anyway, as a tech YouTuber, I had to delve in and find out what the hell was happening here. What I discovered was that robot vacuums and mops are by far the most heavily sponsored tech of any that I've encountered on YouTube. I've received a ridiculous number of offers to make sponsored videos with huge affiliate commissions attached. I ended up making a rant on this experience, which I will link down below. It's a pretty funny watch, at least especially if you enjoy, seeing me get worked up. Anyway, during this time, I stumbled upon a pretty good one. And funnily enough, it was the most reasonably priced one that I actually tried. It was the Roborock QRevo Pro. If I kept my expectations low and I did a bit of setup work, it was good for, a light clean, so long as I gave it a couple of hours to do that. I actually ended up recommending it in that other video I just mentioned, but right on cue, 2 days after the return period expired, its dock started leaking water all over my floor. So I was back to square one, and since I'm a sucker for punishment, as you probably know, I continued my search. Well, as I said at the beginning of this video, I finally found one that works and thus far hasn't leaked. It's this one, the Roborock QRevo Curv. It's very similar to that QRevo Pro that I liked before, apparently more enhancements. For example, it's supposed to have almost twice the suction, which I didn't notice at all. But what I did notice is that it has a different dock, and thus far it hasn't leaked. Here's its pros. It does a pretty decent job of cleaning my floors. It uses a store-bought cleaning solution which I found to smell nicer and be far more effective than cleaning solutions that you buy from these manufacturers. If you're unaware, most of those expensive robot mops, they require you to buy their specific cleaning solution. I find those kind of like a bit watered down compared to the store-bought ones, and here's my hypothesis as to why. The expensive robot mops, they tend to use a single rolling mop. I found that those can leave dirty marks as they don't repeatedly go over the same spot. The suds from store-bought cleaners, they tend to make those dirty marks from suds look more obvious. So I think they have watered them down to avoid this issue. As I said, my hypothesis. It just doesn't happen anywhere near as much when you use their cleaning solutions with one of their roller mops. Anyway, luckily, this Roborock uses 2 spinning mops. Look, I've had several of these robots with each type. I found that those single rollers, they are better for avoiding rugs when they're mopping. They just roll along them and don't touch them. But as I said, they do a pretty horrendous job of actually cleaning. They can leave those dirty streaks along the sides of the rollers, and they just don't seem to clean as deeply. It's like they aren't applying as much pressure. And that's exactly why I don't recommend the newer V2 version of this QRevo Curv. You see, they switched out those spinning mops for a single roller. The other thing I really like about this one in particular is that it's pretty quick. I tried the supposedly awesome Mova Z60 that costs a lot more than this one. It was so slow, it would often just sit there and then it kept running itself out of batteries. It's just dead. It had to recharge twice to do a full clean of my 2,500 square foot house. The others, they only had to recharge once. This made the Mova take close to 10 hours to clean my place. This QRevo Curv only takes around 4 to 5. And adding icing to the cake, it's priced pretty well. At the time I made this video, it was around $670 from Best Buy, which is really reasonable given a lot of these are like $1,000 or more. It seems those newer, more premium ones, they just have more experimental features that may not work all that well. Alright, a couple of cons before I go. The QRevo Curv, it does definitely struggle to clean dirty spots that are right up against a piece of furniture or a wall. I did overwater my pot plant and some of the soil fell on the floor. After 3 goes over, this one still couldn't fully clean it. And as I walked around the house, I could clearly see a couple of bits of fluff here and there that a human cleaner would have got. Lastly, you do need to do a bit of prep work to actually use it. I'd recommend setting it to vacuum the carpets and rugs first before it starts mopping. That way, it minimises dragging its wet mops over your rugs. You may also need to set some no-go zones, as it can struggle with difficult furniture like my framed chairs. And you should lift up cables that you have on the floor. On that last one, this QRevo Curv, it actually does a much better job of avoiding cables or going over them than my older QRevo Pro did. That one just got stuck all the time, but I still lift up the cables just in case. With that said, I want to end with the following. I think robot vacuums and mops, they're a bit of the wild, wild west right now. It seems like these companies are just buying them from the same factory, branding them differently, and paying YouTubers to talk them up. Now, there is Vacuum Wars, which I don't think accepts products from manufacturers or even takes sponsorships. But when I followed their advice, I was pretty disappointed. It appears they're mostly doing lab testing, which just didn't translate to my real-world use case. So, given all this, I definitely think there is a need for a channel like us in this space. But we're not going to jump in yet. Look, expanding to another tech vertical has huge advantages, huge economies of scale. You know, same processors, same filming studio, same editing team, same core website, just with a different domain and a different YouTube channel, of course. That being said, in business, I am a firm believer that you want to be the best in something before expanding to something else, and there is just more that we should be doing in the laptop space before we expand. So for now, I promised I'd come back when I finally found a good robot vacuum and mop, which I have. We'll revisit this category probably in a year or so, but for now, it's back to laptops. And if you are in the market to buy one of those, then check out our website. It shows all our favorite laptops for each type of user, and it tracks prices right across retailers so you truly know if you're getting a good deal. Lastly, a little personal message. We are really trying to hit 400,000 subscribers. We are so close, guys. If you aren't subscribed, please give us a little help. It really does make a difference. Until next time, go do something awesome with your day, and I will catch you later.